Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's complimentary Customer Service Week webinar from ICMI, From One Rockstar to Another, How to Build and Be a Rockin' Customer Service Team, sponsored by Avaya. I'm Christina Hammerberg, Associate Editor and Community Manager for ICMI, and I will be your host today. Before we begin, let's do a little console housekeeping. First, I'll ask that you take a moment to disable your pop-up blockers if they're on. There are several icons at the bottom of the presentation window. The first allows you to see the presentation slides, so make sure that this one is maximized. Next is the Q&A icon. We will be hosting a live Q&A session at the end of this webinar, and you can participate by asking questions at any time during the presentation. Just click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen to bring up the question window. Then type your question into that window, and don't forget to click the Submit button when you're done. You can also learn more about our speakers today by clicking on the Speaker Bio icon located next to the Q&A icon in the presentation window. Next is our resource list icon. There you'll find a few helpful and fun links, including a free copy of our featured speaker's ebook, Rock to the Top, as well as her daily success checklist. We also have a link in there so that you can send a friend or colleague a Customer Service Week e-card from ICMI. If you'd like to download a copy of today's presentation slides, you'll find that link in the resources as well. You can also click the information icon to find out more about our sponsor, and then you can use the email icon to share this event with a friend. If you are experiencing any technical problems during the presentation, you can click the Help icon, the one with the question mark, to access the event help guide. Finally is the survey icon, where you can tell us about your experience with today's event. We'd love to hear your feedback. So with us today, we have speaker, author, entrepreneur, and social media evangelist Dayna Steele. We would also like to welcome Laura Bassett, Director of Marketing, Customer Experience Management, and Emerging Technologies for Avaya. Okay, a quick note before we begin. I'd like to encourage you and your team to participate in today's webinar. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask questions throughout Dayna's presentation. We are going to be giving away a few signed copies of Dayna's book, 101 Ways to Rock Your World, Everyday Activities for Success Every Day. But you need to ask a question to be eligible. Now, I think that covers everything, so let's get started. Our first speaker today is the creator of Your Daily Success Tip and the author of 101 Ways to Rock Your World, Everyday Activities for Success Every Day, and Rock to the Top, What I Learned About Success from the World's Greatest Rock Stars. She is a rock radio Hall of Famer, serial entrepreneur, social media evangelist, and bad golfer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dayna Steele.
Thank you very much, Christina, and thank you for having me as a part of this customer service webinar. It'll be fun to talk to all of you today, although I've got to tell you, I should be really, really used to this because I was on the radio as a rock DJ for about 22 years, but for the last several years I've been speaking to conferences and college students, entrepreneurs across the country. So this is kind of like going back to my roots in that I'm speaking to you and I can't see you, and I forgot that's really what I used to do for a really long time. So I'm sort of starting to get in my comfort zone within just a few minutes because I did talk to myself in a room all alone for about 22 years. Just a couple of things I wanted to pass on to you, and that is I'm just totally and completely addicted to Twitter, and I really encourage you to tweet throughout the event. You of course, as Christina explained, can put questions on the. I think we're having a fire alarm in the building we're in. You know, it is. This is like live performance radio. It is. The minute we start, they're telling us we have to leave for a fire drill, so we're just going to pretend like we don't hear them. Anyway, feel free to tweet throughout this event. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, you can do them on the actual interface, or I've got my Twitter account up in front of me, so you can do that. We call this from one rock star to another, and I think it's important that we define rock star first. A rock star is not somebody who plays music. To me, a rock star is somebody who is at the top of their field, whether it is rock music, country music, business, or customer service. It's somebody that's there at the top. So already right there, because this is an award ceremony, that defines you as a rock star. And a rock star is somebody who's not only at the top, they're living life and running their business on their terms. They're doing what they want, when they want, how they want, with who they want, and they're having a really good time doing it. So just wanted to make sure we were real clear exactly on what a rock star is. And you are a customer service rock star. You are you're the voice that the customer hears. You're the company's reputation. You are everything to the customer. So we will move on and talk a little bit about rock stars. Now I want you to just kind of sit back a minute and close your eyes and think back to when you were 7 years old. Think back. Did you live in an apartment? Did you live in a house? Where did you live? Where were you? Were you in an apartment building? And think back. What did you imagine you were going to be when you grew up? Remember, some people would take like the big giant box that the washing machine or something came in, and you put it in the backyard and you cut holes in it. I know I made mine into a little house. Some people would make theirs into a rocket ship. But those things that you just imagined, you were going to be an astronaut, you were going to be a pop star, you were going to be a rock star, whatever. Think back to when you thought like that, and nobody could tell you any different. Now think back. Now start thinking about what it is you do now. That is the very first step to being a rock star at anything, is believing you're a rock star. Believing that you can do anything you want, rock star customer service, whatever it is, you have to believe first, because once you believe you have the best product, the best service, the best customer service, then it becomes easy to do what you have to do to become a rock star, and it also becomes easy to convince other people. So remember those feelings you had when you were 7 years old. And yes, that is me. I wish I could find those glasses because, they're like so in style now. I could definitely be using those. But I want you to think, find that thing now. Find that passion now that you had when you were a kid. Find that passion now that makes you proud. What is it that makes you proud to represent the company you work for, the service you represent, the product you represent? Take that same feeling from when you were a kid and now apply that to what it is your company does. Find those things that make you make you feel like that. So while you're working on that, I'm going to give you just a little bit of background. Yes, I always wanted to be a rock star. I can't play a musical instrument. I can't hold a tune to save my life. And I can't dance, so that pretty much ruled out me doing anything on the stage. But what I did know was that I wanted to be wildly successful at something. So I actually ended up going off to college. I went to Texas A&M. It was a family alma mater. And I went off to, believe it or not, be a doctor. I thought, well, that sounds like a rock star. That's what I'll do. Got off to college, was reminded I pass out at the sight of blood and don't do very well in science or math, so ended up changing my major quite a few times. But what I ended up doing was somebody dared me to audition for the student radio station, and I did, and the minute I put those headphones on, I knew I was home. I was in that little room talking to myself and playing music and had found something that I was totally passionate about and totally loved, and did that for the next 22 years. I went on to form several businesses, including Steele Media Services and the Space Store. Ended up writing a couple of books and now speak to people around the country about what I like to call the rock star principles of success, whether it's customer service or whatever it is you're doing for a living. And these came from those 22 years I was around some of the greatest rock stars in the world, the Rolling Stones, Van Halen, Bon Jovi. I like to joke Ozzy Osbourne, but Ozzy wouldn't remember. But I was around Sharon. But I was around all these people, but I was also around some really incredibly talented people, if you've ever heard the phrase one-hit wonder. And they had, just such incredible talent. But yeah, they had one hit, and then you never heard from them again. What was it that made those people disappear and go away and never come back? You never heard from them again. And on the other side of the spectrum, you look at the Bon Jovis and the Mick Jaggers. I mean, they've been going. The Rolling Stones are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. 50 years they've been doing this, and they're still one of the top grossing acts. So throughout my radio career, knowing that my shelf life as a female rock and roll DJ was going to be pretty short, I really watched to see what these more successful stars were doing. What did they do that not only got them to the top, but helped them remain at the top? And I call it the rock star principles of success. The very first one is passion. And let's face it, we all know you got to love whatever it is you do. You got to work your passion. You got to find the things you loved. I loved the concerts and the concert tickets and, all the rock stars that came in and out of the studio and all the music I got to play. But there were also, there were challenges. I got to tell you, I'll be perfectly honest. If I never hear Stairway to Heaven or Freebird ever again in my entire life, I would be happy. But that was just, those are the little challenges that you had to get over. I mean, don't you have things that you do as a part of customer service that sometimes get to be a little tedious? That's why you have to find the things that you are passionate about. Why do you do what you do? What is it that keeps you doing this? You're obviously passionate about customer service, or you wouldn't be on this call. So what is it that you're passionate about in your actual job? Find those things that you're passionate about, and that's what keeps you going day in, day out in customer service. And then remember, from that point on, it's no longer about you, period. It's no longer about you. From that point on, it is always about the customer. The Rolling Stones, take Mick Jagger, for example. Mick Jagger absolutely loves jazz music. And what do we pay to see the Rolling Stones these days? Something crazy like $300 a ticket. If you pay $300 a ticket to see the Rolling Stones, the last thing that you're going to want to do is see Mick Jagger do jazz music. You want to see Mick Jagger sing Can't Get No Satisfaction. Can you imagine how many times he has to perform that song in 50 years? But he knows he's not on that stage for Mick Jagger. He's on that stage for the fans. I actually love musical theater. This call is originating from New York, and let me tell you, it's killing me I didn't have time to go see a show last night. I've always loved musical theater. But if I had played, Fiddler on the Roof in between Freebird and Stairway to Heaven, I would have chased off my customers, my fans, my listeners. So you have to find out what is it that your customers are passionate about. And the first thing they're passionate about is themselves. It's human nature that when you're talking to somebody, they're thinking three things. And this goes for your customers as well. When you've got them on the phone or even in person, remember your customer is thinking three things. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And what's in it for me? And that's what I watched some of these rock stars do. They figured it out. They fed the passions of the fans. Now, every once in a while, they'd play a song off the new album, which we all hate that when they do that in concert. But we knew they would follow that up with yet another hit because that's what we paid to see. Take Keith Richards from this picture. Most people don't realize that Keith Richards is a huge history buff and could tell you every teeny tiny little fact and figure about the history of the Boy Scouts. He loves the Boy Scouts. You and I don't go to a Rolling Stones concert to get a 4-hour lecture from Keith Richards. No, we go to see if he's going to live to the end of the show, and we just want to see him play guitar. That's all we want. So remember, it's not about you. It's about the customer. Find out what it is they want. What do they need? Why do they need it? What can you do to make them happy and give them what it is they're looking for? And just know that, sometimes this isn't easy. What you're looking at right now is the cover of a book that one of my music reps gave me years ago. She came up to me and she said, you've tried so many things and fallen flat on your face, and then you just keep going. Well, first of all, I was just totally stunned to find out I'd actually failed at anything because I really had never looked at it that way. I just learned a lesson and moved on. But she said, no, you're just so passionate about what you do, and when something doesn't work, you figure it out, you take a lesson from it, and you just keep going. And she said, this book reminds me of you. And I'm going to give you the short version because we only have an hour for our webinar today. But two brothers walk up to a barn, and they open the doors, and the barn is filled to the rafters with horse poo. Cleaning this up for you, so to speak. The first brother looks at it and says, oh, my God, there's nothing but horse poo in here, and he walks off. And the other brother looks at it, and he studies it, and he picks up a shovel, and he starts digging. And as you can see from the title of the book, he says, there must be a pony. I know it is sometimes not easy to be a customer service rep. I can only imagine what you hear day in and day out. I look back now, and that's probably what I was when I was answering the request line, and I wasn't playing their request immediately. Sometimes you're just not going to make people happy. Sometimes there's going to be challenges. Even when you have the best job in the world, there are going to be challenges. So just remember, in all the poo you have to dig through every day, there must be a pony. That was just a little phrase I took with me away from the music business. And as crazy as it sounds, it really works. So when you've got one of those customers on the phone and it's just really being challenging, you're going to thank me for this. Right now you're thinking this is really a bizarre webinar. But in about 2 weeks, you're going to be talking to a customer who is just making you jump through hoops, and you're trying everything you can. And in the back of your mind, and you're going to smile, and you're going to think of me, and you're going to say, there must be a pony. And you're going to thank me for that, I promise you. The second rockstar principle of success is knowledge. Now we're going to take this rockstar principle to try to deal with that most difficult of customer that no matter how hard you try, you can't do anything to make them happy, to appease them. But the first part of knowledge, that rockstar principle of success, is doing your homework. It's knowing your industry. It's knowing what goes on in the world around you. To this day, people still will ask me, who was your favorite rock star of all time? And it was Sammy Hagar for a variety of reasons. But Sammy always was prepared. When Sammy came into the studio, he could do more than just schlep his CD and his show that night. He would have read local newspapers. He knew what was going on in the world. He or some of his people would have made notes on what he talked to you about the last time you interviewed him a year ago. He did the homework, and he was so charming, and he was so entertaining to have on the air. And let's face it, when I had an entertaining rock star on the air, then my listeners, they stayed with us through the whole interview. Have you ever heard a DJ interview a rock star who was just, they're monotone and they're so boring? And what do? You don't wait for them to get better. You change the channel and go look for something that's better. So Sammy was always nice to have on because he had done his homework. Now, a lot of times you have no idea who's getting ready to call you, but one thing you can do is, have you ever pretended you were the customer? This is actually tip number 38 in my book, 101 Ways to Rock Your World. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. Pretend you're your customer and go through the entire process. Call into your help center. Call into your office. Call into your customer service center without anyone knowing it's you. Call in from another location and come up with, either the most common thing you hear on your customer service line, or come up with the wildest thing you can come up with, and see what the experience is like for your customer, from how fast the phone is answered, to your on-hold music, to the attitude or the sound of the voice of your customer service rep. That's a knowledge that's going to turn out to be just unbelievably invaluable for you. Next part of knowledge comes from Gene Simmons. You got to love Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons once said, life is too short to have anything but delusional notions about yourself. That's probably a good description for being a rock star as well. But Gene Simmons was asked, it's been a couple of years now, but he was actually speaking to a group of entrepreneurs, like an entrepreneurial conference in New York City. And he was asked at the end of it during the Q&A, what is the one thing that you attribute your success to? Now, I'm going to assume at some point you have seen Gene Simmons either on the news or on stage or on Family Jewels or on Celebrity Apprentice, and you know that Gene Simmons doesn't answer anything with one word. Gene Simmons can pontificate and go on and on and on. But this one he did. He said, I read everything I can get my hands on. Now, what does that have to do with customer service? It means you know what's going on in the world around you. You know that if you're getting a call from a customer in New Orleans and they're maybe a little stressed, maybe you should go check the weather and see if there's a hurricane hitting that area. It's being aware of what's going on in the world, what's going on in our country, what's going on in your state, your region, your area, your industry, knowing everything. I'm always stunned when I talk to anybody in business who says to me, I am so busy, I don't have time to watch the news, or I don't have time to read the headlines. You are so missing out on opportunities and information that can make you better at what you do. And I like to use the Katrina reference, but I actually owned the space store. It was a NASA and space-related e-commerce. It was like that nasty astronaut ice cream and flight suits and astronaut patches. And when 9/11 happened, the first thing we did was go through all of our orders that had shipped out in the last 2 weeks and found every single thing that was shipping to New York City and tried to contact every single customer, first of all, to let them know that we're sure it would be returned. We would find a way to get it to them, find out if they had an alternative address. And we actually found out we had 3 customers who lived within blocks of the World Trade Center and were alive, and we were able to get their packages to them at a later time. And then we actually did follow-up calls for the next year to make sure they were okay and they were getting settled. You've got to pay attention to what's going on in the world around you, because it really makes a difference in your customer service. And then you know what? You get to the point where you just got to know, again, you've done everything you can to help that customer. You've tried everything. You've been nice. You've been funny. You've been informative. You've been kind. You've watched the news. You've done your homework. You know everything there is to know about the industry. And then you just have to know when to quit sometimes. And it's okay. It's okay. We had a customer at the space store who, I guess I should preface this with, I had a general manager who could make anyone happy on the phone. She could, no matter what the problem was, she was the most amazing customer service rep. By the time people got off the phone, they were not only happy, they had bought more products. She was amazing. And for her to come to me and say, I can't make this woman happy, I knew it. This was going to be a tough one. So she gave it to me, and this woman had bought 2 space shuttle toys for her twin boys, $19.95 each, and she was about to have a coronary because her space shuttles didn't fly. So I had to take a big breath and try to explain to her very kindly that for $19.95, nothing was going to fly unless it was like one of those balsa wood airplanes. But she was seeing no humor in any of this. I mean, she was mad. We offered to refund her money. She was just mad. Nothing was going to make her happy. So finally at the end, I just had to try to explain to her that, ma'am, even the real space shuttle doesn't actually fly. It's just like a 100-ton glider that drops out of the sky. At that point, she hung up on me, and, I took it personally, but I had to take a big breath and realize I had done everything I can do. And then I did something that was probably not nice, that karma's going to come back to haunt me. But last week I tweeted, I hope the woman, or I guess I either put it on Twitter or Facebook, but I said, I hope the woman I couldn't make happy 13 years ago realizes that the reason the space shuttle was on top of the 747 all the way from Florida to California was because it doesn't fly. So there, I was able to get my little jab in there. But just remember that even as good as you are, there's going to be those challenges that you just realize, you know what? I've done the best I can do, and I'm going to move on. Our third rock star principle of success. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check Twitter real quick right now. I'm looking at Michelle V. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Thank you. And I'm listening to Jason Sanchez says he wants to be a pilot. Well, Jason, you're going to have to take flying lessons, and right now you're a rock star customer service rep. But I'm married to a pilot, so pilots are sexy. So you go right ahead, Jason, and do everything you need to do. Let's see, and there's Julie in there, and I'm really loving the tweets. Thank you, guys. The third rock star principle of success is just appreciation. Let them know you care. That's all anybody wants to know, is just let them know that you care, that you do understand their problem, and you want to do absolutely everything you can for them. And let your staff and your employees and your bosses, everybody you work with, let them know. Those are the people that we sometimes forget to thank. You're looking at a platinum album that I got from Aerosmith. I think you are. Nope, it's stuck. But the record companies would send me a platinum album. Now, let's face it, Aerosmith was going to be a hit whether I played their album or not. But just the fact that they would say, hey, thanks, you were instrumental in making our record a hit. What's the next time? When next time they put out a record, what would I do? Of course I was going to play it. I was hoping to get another platinum album. But just remember that even though people are doing what you pay them to do or what you've contracted them to do, don't forget to reward your people and thank them for a job well done. At the end of the day, say, you know what, I know it was a rough day. I know we had maybe some tough customers today. But just remember to thank your people and reward your people, because you know what, they're going to just do that much more for you the next day. And remember to be appreciative of your customers. If you didn't have customers, you wouldn't have a job, actually. There would be no need for customer service. So just remember at the end of the day to be thankful for all of this. And remember to just drop everything for your fans. And who are your fans? They're your customers. They're your clients. Remember to do things because it's the right thing to do. Van Halen, I just will never forget. Van Halen, there was a young man living with cystic fibrosis in Houston, Texas, who had just celebrated his 18th birthday. His name was Kevin Hendon. And this was at a time when CF patients did not live to be teenagers. And so the local newspaper had done an article on Kevin, and Kevin was quoting Van Halen through the entire article. Well, my godfather, my mentor in the business, managed Van Halen, so I made arrangements for Kevin to be their special guest when Van Halen came to town a couple of months later. Well, a couple of days before the band got there, now keep in mind this is the mid-'80s. This is when Van Halen was the biggest band on the charts, the biggest band on the radio, the biggest band on the road. They were absolutely huge. And 2 days before they came into town, Kevin got really sick and had to go back into Texas Children's Hospital. On the day of the show, when Van Halen should have been doing a sound check, they instead got in their limos, came to the hospital, and spent 30 minutes with Kevin. You can see do we have the picture up? All right, we do. Great. You can see the picture of the band there in the hospital room with Kevin. If you look really closely in the upper right-hand corner, we walked into the hospital room, and the band looked up at the teddy bear wallpaper and went, oh, dude, this sucks. 2 weeks after this picture was taken, Kevin died. I found out Sammy Hagar had been calling him every day to make sure he was okay, and Van Halen was negotiating with Texas Children's Hospital to replace the wallpaper in Kevin's hospital room with Van Halen posters. so he wouldn't have to do that. Van Halen didn't have to do this. Van Halen, do you know how many other things Van Halen should have been doing that afternoon? But they dropped everything to do something for a fan. That is pretty darn powerful. So think of that. Every time you have a customer on the phone, what are you going to do to give them this sort of Van Halen moment? You know what? And by the way, just find the humor. Find the humor in some of the questions you get. I want to wrap up with a question I got on the request line once. We used to give away concert tickets, like they still do on the radio. And I think it was a pair of tickets to Leonard Skinner. And this woman was so excited. Oh, my gosh, she was so happy she'd gotten Leonard Skinner tickets. And she called me back about 30 minutes later, and she said, thank you. I'm so excited to go to see the band. She was, I'm really confused. I have a question. I want a pair of tickets. Is that 2 or 4? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I'm trying to be nice. I want a pair of tickets to Leonard Skinner. Is that 2 tickets or 4 tickets? And I'm like, I'm confused. I don't understand. You want a pair of tickets, so that's 2 tickets. Well, is it 2 pair? No, it's a pair of tickets. I mean, this went on like a who's on first routine for about 10 minutes on the request line, and I think I was starting to probably get a little pissy, which is not really good for a customer service rep, I know. But I was just totally confused that I couldn't convince this woman how many tickets she had won to see Leonard Skinner. Finally, I said, ma'am, do me a favor. Look down at your feet. Do you have on a pair of shoes? And she said, yes. I said, that's how many tickets you have to see Leonard Skinner. And I can't repeat what she said to me. So just remember, sometimes you're going to get those kind of things, and there's just no way around it. That's another one where you just take a breath. You know you've gone above and beyond. You've done your very best, and you move on. But I highly recommend you save the story for the rest of your life because it will be something fun that you can always use. I want to say hi to Alex Soto. See, I'm watching my Twitter account now. Alex just logged on as well. My Twitter account. I like to call it the Gaga formula. Never the Lady Gaga. We all know who she is. We all think she's an alien. Whether you love her or hate her, and I'm in the love her camp, I'll just be honest with that. She's one of the ones that's figured it out. She's a rock star that understands the formula to getting to the top and staying there. When she found out she was the biggest pop star on the planet, instead of celebrating like her people were doing, she had a panic attack. I think in Vanity Fair magazine, she said she actually locked herself in the bathroom and had a panic attack because her first thought was, but how am I going to get better? How am I going to give my little monsters even more? That is the key to being a rock star, is realizing that no matter how good you are, you've got to get better and better each time you do it, every day, and constantly give your customers what it takes to make them happy. It's the discipline to do the Rockstar Principles of Success every single day, day in, day out, on every phone call, on every single customer encounter that you have. And by the way, the 4th Rockstar Principle of Success is networking. And if you want to be a rock star, hang out with rock stars like the rock stars on this phone call all the time. So I want to say it's been a real pleasure to be with you today. It, again, is very strange to feel like I'm back on the radio again, just talking to people aimlessly on the air. But good luck with all you do. I'm Dayna Steele on Twitter. I'm Dayna Steele on Facebook. I'm Dayna Steele on LinkedIn. And I'm Dayna Steele in the vast wastelands of Google+, which we're all still navigating. So please, if you have any questions, you can ask them now. Do we have a question? Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can figure out your interface here. Right there. How do you maintain that rock star mentality when your organization is going through major changes, layoffs, and restructuring? Oh, please. I went from rock radio to disco overnight. It was the worst experience of my life. One day I was a rock and roll DJ and literally, I mean, have you ever been listening to your favorite radio station and the next morning you get in the car and you press the button and it's Latino hip hop? That's what happened to the rock station. I worked for a rock station. The next morning we came in and found out we were all disco DJs. Donna Summer, may she rest in peace. I never want to hear that 4-beat ever again. How do you maintain it? Again, you find the things about the job that you loved in the first place. Why are you there in the first place? If you don't love your job, I can't help you. But if you can find the things that why were you passionate about it in the first place? I went through changes again when we were owned by a family. We were privately owned, and we could be so incredibly creative. And then, the evil giant Clear Channel came in and bought us, and things changed. All of a sudden, we weren't family owned. We were owned by a large conglomerate that answered to stockholders. You know what? You just have to stop and, again, think, why am I doing this job? Find the things that you love about the job and the reasons you're passionate about the job, and concentrate on those. Try not to concentrate on the negative. And if there are things that you can help fix, don't get all bitchy about it. Find a way to solve the problems. Try to find a way to solve the things you don't like. Like my husband tells our children, find a solution or management will, and you probably won't like the solution management finds. So, find a way to make it better. Why can't you start from where you are by first remembering why you love the job in the first place, and then second, trying to help your organization get through these rough times? And if everybody works, that's so much a part of it, is being a team. And sometimes we forget that. If the team can work together, then we can find a way to get beyond this. Do we have any more, Sarah? I think we have a couple more questions in there. We're actually doing this webinar in the same room, so they're handing me their laptops to show me the questions. Do we have another one? Okay. That one right there. What tips do you have to maintaining your rock star when the customer is difficult? You know what? You just have to ask the customer. Try to find out what the root of the problem is. Ask the customer what they want you to do. Ask them what they suggest. One of the things when I used to have a boss that would call me, and he would chastise me for not treating the listener like they were my best friend. Now, you don't want to get all chummy and, hey, dude, on the phone or anything like that. But what if it was your best friend or your mother or your father or your son or your daughter? Try to picture somebody that you really care about, that you're really close with when this person's being really, really difficult. And try to picture that. How would you talk to the person you love or you care about? That sounds really sappy, but it makes it a lot easier. Try not to talk to them as a difficult customer. Try to talk to them as somebody you really care about. That's what I was told on the radio. Never do anything on the radio. Introduce a song, read a PSA, read a commercial, do a weather forecast like you're doing it for the listeners. Do it like you're doing it for your best friend. And now here, 25 years later, I have complete strangers who come up to me, for example, in the airport and say, I still feel like I know you because I felt like you were talking to me. So just try to imagine somebody you really care about and then try to explain how you're going to fix it and make it better for them. And don't tell them to call the 1-800 number. Do not give them another 1-800 number. Find a solution. Don't make them go somewhere else. Help them find it right now. Any other questions, ladies? Okay, well, we have some other things we have to take care of here. Again, thank you for the tweets. And I think I have one more here from Chad Durham. I appreciate it. We have a couple of other things for you, and then if we have time at the end, I'll stick around and answer some more questions. And it can be about customer service or it can be about rock stars. I promise I'll try to answer anything. So I'll turn it back over.
Thank you so much, Dayna. And now I know that there are a lot of you out there that are waiting to hear the results of our Spirit of Service Awards. Each year, ICMI selects contact center professionals who are nominated by their peers and embody the spirit of service, and who already embody those 3 rockstar principles, and we celebrate them during Customer Service Week. So 2012 represents a first for this awards program. In the past, ICMI has only recognized outstanding customer service agents for their work in the contact center. But this year, we opened it up to be all-inclusive. So we have 4 categories, including customer service business leader, contact center supervisor, contact center manager, and of course, contact center agent. And we had so many dedicated and talented nominees this year. I was honored to be included on the judges panel, so I know firsthand that all of our judges had some really tough decisions to make when it came to selecting this year's finalists and our winners. I also had the pleasure of interviewing each and every one of our 11 finalists, and those interviews appear on our blog site if you're interested in taking a look and meeting them. But it was really enlightening to chat with these professionals because they are just so very passionate about what they do. It was enlightening and a lot of fun. So, okay, let's get to the good stuff. First up is our Customer Service Business Leader of the Year. This category was open to senior customer service professionals. And our finalists in this category were Cynthia Smith of Zion's Management Services Company and Meg Neefsey of American Water. And the winner of this year's award is Cynthia Smith. Congratulations, Cynthia. So outside of her contact center duties, this rock star, Cynthia, told me that she is really passionate about giving back to the global community. Cynthia volunteers to give pediatric care to children in third world countries, and that's just phenomenal. So congratulations, Cynthia. Our next category is Contact Center Supervisor of the Year. So this category was open to those who supervise agents regularly and provide support to customer-facing individuals. Our finalists in this category were Steve Mitch Warden of American Water and Stella Jackson at Sitel. And the winner is Stella Jackson. Congratulations, Stella. Now, Stella is known as Auntie Stella to the children in her local community. Stella loves being involved in different activities with the kids, especially gardening. She enjoys teaching the children how to take care of plants and cultivating their own gardens, and she even gives out prizes to help encourage them to keep up their good work. It's awesome. So congratulations, Stella. And in our next category is Manager of the Year. And this category was open to professionals responsible for managing a contact center and customer service professionals. Our finalists here are Alberto Garcia of BuildASign.com and Kay Hendrick of Chesterfield County Department of Utilities. And our winner in this category is Alberto Garcia. Alberto, in addition to making sure that the customer love department is running smoothly, Alberto says that he's also a DJ. In fact, he had the opportunity to show off his DJing skills at BuildASign.com's Creative Fun event back in September, which is just awesome. Rock on, dude. I hope you heard that. Okay, so next is our Agent of the Year category. And in this category, we had 5 finalists. So this category is open to customer-facing individuals who regularly come into contact with the organizations and customers, the agents that we all know and love. So here are our 5 finalists. We have Ann Miller of Cigna Healthcare, Ryan Miles of Mass Mutual, Tricia Calkins of Mass Mutual Financial Group. We also have Tanya Blatherwick of Sitel and Wendy States, Department of Veteran Affairs Health Resource Center. And the winner in this category is Ryan Miles. Congratulations, Ryan. Now, Ryan told me that he is a busy and very proud uncle of 4. Ryan said that he tries to visit all of his nieces and nephews each day of the week. How great is that? That's absolutely fabulous. All right, so I want to extend a congratulations to all of our winners. I will be reaching out to you shortly after this presentation with an email so that we can arrange to get your prizes to you. And there are many fabulous prizes to be had, including a signed copy of Dayna's book, 101 Ways to Rock Your World. So with that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Laura Bassett from Avaya. Laura?
Great. Thank you, Christine. So thank you very much. Congratulations to everybody who was just mentioned, as well as to all the nominees. That's great. I would say, that to say that I have a passion for customer service might be an understatement. So let me just go in real quick and take you through. I believe the slides might be messing up, Christine.
I can still see them and push them if you need me to.
Okay. So what should be showing right now is the new customer service reality. What we heard Dayna say around, what a rock star does. What they do what they want, how they want, when they want, and they do it well, right? Well, your customers expect just that, rockstar customer service. And let me give you some examples of what may or may not happen, right, if you give them that rockstar service. So, your customers are always deciding, should they stay or should they leave and go to your competition? 73% of millennials today will leave your company after one bad experience. 85% of those will tell others about that poor experience via social channels, Twitter, Facebook where really they are connecting with their specific friends. So thinking about that experience and always treating that person like your friend, just like Dayna referenced, it really makes a difference to that customer and the loyalty to their business. And, we've talked about we all have a passion for it. We have a passion for the businesses that we're in. And so, we conducted some further research. About 80% of businesses polled think they deliver a superior customer experience, while nowadays it shows that about 20% of their end customers agree. And the key is that customers are actually willing to pay more for good service. They'll stay with your company, not do price comparisons, and they'll actually buy more if you make it easy for them to do business with you. This gets to, empower yourselves, empower your teams to be able to answer those questions, provide that information needed. This is really what's critical out there, and this is where we say customer experience really truly is a differentiator. It's not a trend. It is the way businesses are differentiating today. Businesses are investing in it, and that is what is retaining customers. Really what's required there is a holistic strategy to ensure that success. Can we move to the next slide? And so what does that mean? Right, so we talked about, Dayna talked about $300 per ticket is what you might pay for the concert of your choice. You have to ask yourself, what are your customers paying? What are they expecting? And how do you deliver on that, right? So, our lives are changing as businesses, as customer contact centers transitioning into customer experience centers. So what is it about reinventing that customer experience? We talked a little bit about the people, right? Helping customers find a solution. Don't think of it necessarily as just agents. I'm here to answer a yes or no question. You're an advisor. Your teams are advisors. You're subject matter experts. It's about changing the culture within that business and empowering ourselves to really help people and grant that knowledge that we have inside that business. It's about, as a business, being proactive and engaging with those customers, giving them the information that they need or want, maybe prior to them knowing that they even needed it. letting them opt in to receive information at regular intervals, letting them contact you over the channels and the choice of communication that they choose to make. I call it their preferred channel of choice, right? Some people are on mobile devices. Some people do want to make a phone call. The typical engagement today is they're making a phone call after they've already done some research or attempted some other method of contacting you. Let's move to the next slide. So what happens if you don't do this? Well, there are proven consequences for businesses, where if we're not providing that level of customer service, customers can make other decisions. And what we're finding is 26% of consumers that don't get what they need from that are not getting what they need from a contact center interaction that first time. And in fact, what we're finding is the average number of times they're contacting the businesses that they're engaging with is about 4.4 times in order to get a matter resolved. This is definitely driving satisfaction numbers down. That gets back to the number of customers who will share experiences across social networks. And what's interesting here is when these customers are coming to you, 79% think they know more about it than the person they end up speaking with. This is where the critical nature of when you have that live conversation, it has to be that, you have to be well informed. And, 78% of customers that are reaching into you have actually already done research online before contacting your business. So it's important to keep in mind that we've got to give the right information and the right tools to the people that are interfacing with those customers. So next slide. There are, however, opportunities and rewards if you do pay attention to that overarching customer experience. And this is where customer experience, it really is your brand. 83% of customers will buy more. We talked about this. 70% will spend more, and they'll spend up to 20% more with companies who are providing good service. This really gets down to satisfying in that experience leads to overall customer lifetime value for your business. And, it honestly leads to agent satisfaction, employee satisfaction as well. When you have happy customers, you have happy employees. And the way to do that is to empower those employees. So how are customers out there today wanting to interact with your businesses? What does that mean to you? What kind of solutions are out there to help you? What should you consider? So next slide for solutions to reinvent the customer experience. Your customers are out there on all different types of devices. They're out there wanting to email you. They're out there on mobile devices. Do you have ways to integrate those channels of communication into your business? Is there a potential that you need a kiosk, for example, at a branch so that when all the associates are busy, somebody has the opportunity to go to that kiosk and get what I call, quote unquote, across-the-counter customer service via that kiosk, right? Enabling them, it's an instant gratification society. Let them create that instant gratification for themselves at any point in time that they can. Respond to an email. Put an app on that mobile device that integrates back into the contact center so that when they've done as much as they can on their own, they can then request help. But not only that, maybe you credit them as a customer for having tried to serve themselves, right? And so you get them to the front of the line faster. Provide them automated tools to do this over an IVR, over a website. But not only that, you have to have the analytics in the background too to understand and help manage that experience to meet those customer expectations, to understand how well you're doing at delivering that as a business. And then last but not least, we heard Dayna say that, be aware. Be aware of what your customers are doing and saying. Be aware of what's going on in the market. Social media is a great way to do that, a great way to engage with your consumers. The fact is that you may have 100,000 mentions. What we typically find when we're working with our customers and out there and just businesses in the market, 100,000 mentions might be out there, but it's at a maximum 10% of those that may require a response or some sort of action. Typically, that would come under the hat of the customer service operations, in order to reply, that's where it would fit. But it can also engage with other subject matter experts across your business. And so be aware of what they're saying. Not everything needs a reply, but it certainly indicates how people are talking about you, your competitors, your industry, or the rest of the world out there in that social, very global environment. And don't forget about video for revenue generating opportunities, because you have video sales off your website, right? That's the way the younger generation communicates today. They don't think of video as a phone call, but they will video you, but they won't phone call. They won't pick up the phone and call you. So I just wanted to give you some thoughts around creating that rockstar experience for that end consumer, listening to the way they want to communicate, and and benefiting the most you can for your business as a result of doing that. And so with that, Christine, I will hand it back to you. We can get some more questions in, or whatever the next steps are.
Thank you so much, Laura. All right, well, actually, we have had so much fun that we have kind of run out of time for Q&A, but don't worry, we've been monitoring the questions that have been coming in, so we will be getting back to you. Dayna and Laura will be reaching out to you and answering your questions. And we did promise that before we end this webinar that there will be a couple of winners for those of you that have been so awesome to ask us these questions. And you guys will be getting a signed copy of Dayna's book. So the winners are Patrick Gordon, Purchasing Power LLC, congratulations, and also Beth Greenhoff of Planned Parenthood. So you two are the winners. Congratulations. All right, so that concludes our webinar for today, and you can keep in touch with Dayna and Laura with their contact information here with any questions, and be sure to check out Dayna's website and follow her on Twitter as well. So that concludes our program for today. So shortly following today's live webcast, you will be able to access this presentation on demand. This webcast is copyright 2012 by ICMI. The presentation materials are owned by or copyright, if that is the case, by ICMI, which is solely responsible for its content, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. On behalf of ICMI and our sponsor, Avaya, we thank you for attending.